Jim Bryant,
Here.
Kayla Anderson.
Here.
Jeremy Koenig,
Here.
Therese Bjornstad,
Here.
Rachel Schoenfelder.
Here.
Jennifer Tiff,
Here.
and Superintendent Josh is here, and myself, Ryan Reister. The vision of the Redmond School Board is, the mission of Redmond Public Schools is to educate and inspire all students as they realize their full potential, become respectful, responsible, and productive citizens. Stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone check their mutes, please.
Are you muted, Jim?
Is it all?
TV, it shows it's muted.
No.
Is that?
That one is, that's unmuted.
Yeah.
No, Lisa said unmuted for public comment. All right. Do I have a motion to?
Public computer is muted. Which one is the public? This one or that one? I just unmuted this one. I hear the voice sounds coming out of that. So it's the TV. Mute the TV. All right, Lisa, can you hear us now? I hear you now. We're good.
All right. Thank you. You're welcome. All right.
Underestimated yourself.
Do I have a motion to approve this evening's agenda?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bryant, seconded by Mr. Koenig. Any discussion? All those in favor of the meeting agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. All right. Educational plan. Yeah. So, and then we're gonna move on to, Ms. McGill is gonna have a presentation on the Hope Squad. Have a seat right in front of the computer.
Dr. Morris is going to join me too.
Correct.
I just have to call the doctor. Good evening. My name is Liz McGill. I am going to present on Hope Squad. Besides Rachel, has anyone here heard of Hope Squad? Ryan? I don't know. Okay. What is Hope Squad? Hope Squad is a peer-to-peer program in which students, our squad members, are trained to recognize anxiety and depression in their peers.
Is this going up on, did you give this to?
Yes.
Is there somebody to project on the screen?
No, because Lisa probably doesn't have them in the office.
I thought she did.
She does.
Oh, she does?
Yep.
There we go, start presenting, there you go. Okay, sorry, Liz, please continue.
Okay, go ahead to the first slide, please, Lisa. Okay. Note that I mentioned that students are identifying anxiety and depression in their peers, not suicidal ideation. Students then pass this information on to identified adults in the school, usually like teachers, custodians, whoever, that the students, and we all know who those students, those people are in our schools, people who they feel they can go to and talk to and trust. These identified adults then, the difference between having Hope Squad in your school and not having Hope Squad in your school is then these identified adults take this information when these students have been identified and they pass them on to a mental health agency, for instance, Hiawatha Valley Mental Health in our community, And they are the ones then who connect with the students and the parents and the caregivers to provide the mental health services. It is not the teachers, it is not the custodians, it is not the students who provide that heavy lift. It is the mental health professionals in the community who provide that. It's very important to note that neither the squad members or the teachers or the identified adults are the ones providing that vital information. This peer-to-peer approach intentionally allows the squad members to reach out to peers to become instruments of change. This change is based on the Circles of Hope, a community model that is an evidence-based model for community collaboration. Next slide, please. So how did the history of Hope Squad, how did it come to be? Unfortunately, Hope Squad came to be out of a continuing series of teen suicides in Proval, Utah. In about 1987, a principal in Proval, Utah was tasked with identifying another teen, 16-year-old boy who had just committed suicide. At the time, Proval, Utah was seeing 1 to 2 suicides per year in their school system. During the identification of this teen, the principal learned that the week before, he had given away his grandfather's watch, one of his most prized possessions, to his buddy. Now, any of us who have had any suicide training knows that is a key factor in suicide ideation, suicide planning, is you give away your prized possessions. Of course, his 15-year-old friend did not know. He just thought he was being nice and giving him his watch. A week later, the young man killed himself. So the principal identified the body, went and sat in his car, cried, and said, I can't keep doing this. I can't 1 to 2 times a year identify one of my students. I need to do something, and we need to work on suicide prevention. So he developed the Hope Squad curriculum. Upon implementation of this curriculum in Proval, Utah, they went 9 straight years without a suicide. The only difference in the school system was the implementation of Hope Squad. Today, Hope Squad is in 43 states, 625 school districts, and 2,380 individual schools. It is a nationally recognized program for suicide prevention. This program is nationally recognized, and it is grade appropriate. There is an upper elementary program, there is a middle school program, and there's a high school program. Next slide, please. How does Hope Squad work? Well, it's very simple. It's based on, it's typically easier to tell the stranger some of our problems than our family or close friends. Kind of like if you ever take a long trip, you might tell somebody in an airplane something that you haven't told a good friend. These squad members are identified by their peers. Peers choose their classmates that they feel are kind, good listeners, will hold things in confidence, and are empathetic. Parental permission is granted, then the Hope Squad member is trained in the Hope Squad curriculum. Then they meet weekly with the other Hope Squad members in the school, and there are usually 2 to 3 adults from the community that are also trained in the Hope Squad curriculum that oversee these weekly sessions and the training of these squad members, these students. It is a time when these students then, each week they learn like a new part, a new chapter, concept of this Hope Squad. And it's a time for them to build rapport with each other, pass on anything that they feel is kind of heavy that they've been working on with a student, and just kind of have a chance to talk amongst each others. Since Hope Squad is nationally recognized, it is an incredible asset for a student to be identified as a Hope Squad member. Can you imagine your child being able to list this on their college resume or on a job application, that they were selected by their peers as the kind and empathetic person to bring out these important matters to? Next slide, please. A very key component of Hope Squad is passing on the heavy. I'm married to an educator, and he's in East St. Paul, and I know what he brings home, a lot of heavy from his students. And when he heard about this program, he was like, this would be so incredible to have. Because as teachers, as those identified adults in the building, they're usually the ones that have to hold on to that, and that's really hard. They're educators, they're not mental health professionals, but they're holding on to that. So to have that additional heavy to pass on to someone who is a trained professional, mental health professionals are not trained educators, educators are not trained mental health professionals. Those are 2 separate entities. but to be able to pass that on, to know that they're the ones that get to just pass that on to somebody who can then connect those students and those families with the vital resources that they need to help them with their mental health issues. Next slide, please. The cost of the program. Of course, there's a cost. The curriculum is about $4,000 a year for a high school level curriculum. It is less as the grades go down. There's, for each of those 2 to 3 team members in the community, the adults that we would train, it would be about another $400 a person. It's a 2-day virtual training. We'd want some swag for our Hope Squad members, some t-shirts, some sweatshirts. They got a whole website of really neat stuff. It's water bottle stickers, lanyards, that kind of stuff. Of course, we're dealing with youth, so we're going to feed them at these meetings and at these trainings. And then there's the general printing, there's the forming of the nonprofit, there's the general office costs and that type of thing. Here's the neat thing about this Hope Squad. This will cost the Red Wing school system $0 every year, not 1 cent. We have a board of directors that is very dedicated and very good at raising money. I myself, some of you know that I had Hope in Harbor, the homeless shelter, for about 6 seasons, and I raised about $900,000 in that time. I know how to write grants. We have a lot of people on our board that are very well connected and are very anxious to get this program and have lined up funding. That's very much a unicorn. Most schools pay for this program. Most schools pay for the fees every year. But all expenses will be covered by Hope Squad, and not a dime will come from the Red Wing Public Schools. Next slide, please. We do have 2 asks from the Red Wing Public Schools, and that is, the first is we will need space for meetings. We'll need space where we can gather our Hope Squad team members together, either during the school day, like on your Wednesday club time, or after school, and before school, whenever it works for them. And it needs to be semi-private so we can talk and train and talk about these type of things. And then we need access to identifying these Hope Squad members, because remember, the students identify them. So imagine a school list going out to the students. They're choosing their number, their Hope Squad members. So we'll need access to that every year. For Red Wing High School, we need somewhere between 12 to 18 squad members each year for each grade. A little heavier on the younger grades, the 8th, 9, and 10, because they will progress then with as they get older and stay on with the program if they choose. And you have a little less your junior, senior year, because they're not going to be squad leaders as long as they're going to graduate. So you kind of heavy in the younger grades. Next slide, please. That basically is the presentation in a nutshell. I would ask that if you have any questions, that you Google Hope Squad Proval, Utah. There's a lot of different Hope Squads out there, so you want to get the right one. Our board of directors consists of Rachel Marshall Schoenfelder, Dr. Craig Morris, Mayor Gary Yacko, Emily Hutchinson, one of either Amy Larson from St. Paul's or her husband. They both would like to do it, and we're going to have one of them will commit to that, and then myself. At this time, I'd like Mr. Morris to interject he's got some data on teen suicides and mental health in our area.
Liz, thank you. Chair, members, directors, community members. As much as I like to talk about data, I'm going to try to bring this one home for a moment, because this is a subject that's been very near and dear to my heart for quite some time. It's also a subject that not a lot of people talk about. Most of us know someone or know of a family, but I've seen the impact of mental health issues and the impact of persons who may be spiraling down that black hole with some form of ideation of self-harm, including suicide, within my own family. It is tragic. It is horrific. There is no one size fits all. And what I see in the Hope Squad, and even before Liz and I talked about this, I'm familiar with the program, I've seen the efficacy of this work. Now, in some of my work for the past 10 years, one of the things I've observed, this is no diss for any administrator or teacher in the room, but students usually learn best from other students. They really do. They pay attention, they pick up on things. And what Hope Squad really presents is a way of closing a gap that exists around those who may be struggling with exhibiting some signs and helping getting them connected with the clinical professionals that can really provide the intervention and hopefully help people not continue down that spiraling sense of loss of self-worth and confidence. You have students in this community that are struggling, and you will have students that will continue to struggle. So what Hope Squad really represents is an opportunity to provide that intervention and then make sure that connection with clinical services can be afforded. Now, I want to talk about the data for just a moment because our friends over at Mankato and some of my colleagues, specifically Center for Rural Policy and Development, issued a report back in February 24, so just not that long ago. Since about 2000, deaths by suicide have been rising at a steady and alarming rate. And every year we've seen that increase. Mortality rates in the United States and in Minnesota were on a steady decline until about 2009, and then that rate reversed. That caused researchers to dig deeper and start taking a closer look at why this was happening. Now, one of the things that I believe Red Wing prides itself on, although there's a bit of an identity crisis if we're going to be true to ourselves, right? Red Wing is not urban, although many of our districts and our students in southeastern Minnesota mirror and share many of the same problems and challenges that students in urban districts face. We're sort of suburban, but we don't like to be considered a suburb. We could be ex-urban on any given day, but then we also prefer to consider ourselves rural. So one of the things this study really focuses on is that, especially in rural areas, we're seeing an alarming rate and increase. And sometimes that's because people might feel as though, especially if they're different from the majority, they're sort of on watch. They're sort of out there. They're sort of exposed. It may cause others to feel that they don't have access to the same level of resource, or they may not know where those resources are in the community. You have really excellent administrators, and I'm not saying this because I have the privilege of serving your buildings from time to time. Right, Mr. Berman?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. At least I hope that will continue. You have excellent educators, and I can say this as a person who's participated in a number of superintendent searches around the country since 2014, in fact, over 70 to date. I won't name the school districts that are envious of you, but I can tell you that you have a lot of promise here, and that's not a cliche or a play on words. So what I'm hoping you will do today is take to heart, number one, that there is a problem, there is an issue, and there is a resource that's being offered to this district right now that has proven itself over time. It's steeped in data, and it will not cost. The risk or the downside, I think, is not doing this. Because the risk is that while there isn't a lot of differential between pre-adolescent, adolescent, or adults when they reach that point of making a decision about self-harm, there is a fair amount of information that tells us that if we can identify some of those triggering factors and through triangulation, identify it, as Liz used the example, when people start giving their things away, or people start talking about they just want the pain to stop, or people who are putting themselves in the position of it's them causing other people pain. They don't want to continue to cause pain for others. There's usually some symbology, there's usually some indication that that's going on. And if we can pick up on those clues, then we can perhaps provide another resource and intervene to save a life. Thank you. And I'll share this report if anyone would like to take a look at it. I'm not going to go into all the numbers, but it really says a lot of what I just shared with you is going on here, and I believe is happening in this district.
Any questions or comments?
Thank you very much. Any questions?
I apologize for the coffee. My allergies are bugging. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is public comment. Ms. Mike, if you'd like to. I'm just gonna read this off real quick. This is a listening opportunity for the board and not a time to debate an issue. We are prohibited from making comments for specific students, staff, or administrators. The board respects and values input from the public, but when it relates to a specific student, staff, or administrator, such input must be heard by the appropriate personnel, such as the building principal or superintendent, and not during an open meeting of the school board. We require that you limit your remarks to 3 minutes. You are not allowed to yield your time to another person. It is expected that members of the public will address their remarks with civility and respect.
Hi, Amber Plank, Ward 4. My approach is going to be a little bit different tonight, but I'm hoping you guys all respect my 3 minutes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm doing it now. That silence you just sat through, that was 1 minute and 4 seconds, the exact amount of time that your school security cameras mysteriously skipped on December 4th, 2024, the day that my daughter was attacked with scissors by another student. During that silent minute, you may have been uncomfortable. My daughter was in danger and there's no video, no answers, and no accountability, just a convenient glitch that erased her pain from your system. Now imagine being told that your child was attacked and then being told the cameras were working except during that attack. And we're just supposed to accept that? Have you replaced those cameras yet? Are we still supposed to believe that black pain just doesn't show up on your screens? This pattern didn't start there. Just a few weeks ago, a high school student proudly held up a sign with the N-word and they smiled. Why wouldn't she? This is a district that's made it clear that racism isn't punished, it's protected. At Burnside Elementary, my best friend's young black son was just called a monkey. That's the same school that my daughter was bullied out of for the color of her skin. And you keep on telling us that you're working on it. You keep on parading around this kindness club like it fixes the deep-rooted racism. Meanwhile, I've meticulously compiled everything, a 1-inch stack of documents, because I refuse to let this district erase my daughter's experience like that 1 minute and 4 seconds of footage. I'm done asking nicely. I'm done being polite about pain. You've heard my silence. Now hear my message and start doing your jobs. Because if I make people uncomfortable when I walk in this room, it's not by accident. It's because I play a very necessary role in this process. I am the agitator. I'm the one who stirs things up, who breaks the silence, who demands the conversations no one else wants to have. And I know, I know that many people don't like my role. I can feel it every time I speak. Trust me, I know, but the agitator is essential. Change does not come without agitation. Growth does not happen without discomfort. So if my presence stirs something in you, I ask you to sit with that feeling. If me talking about racism makes you uncomfortable, maybe it's because you know deep down that you're still capable of it, or that you stay quiet while others have suffered. Discomfort is not the enemy. Complacency is.
All right. Recognition and upcoming events.
Big one, obviously coming up on Friday, graduation, so things are moving along there. Right now, looking at the weather, looks like we'll be outside. You know, we'll kind of check things tomorrow, but it looks like it's supposed to be a decent day on Friday, so the significant preparations for that will get started. It takes the custodial staff and everybody a significant amount of time to set that up, break it down, end up
working until 1 or 2 o'clock on Friday night, getting things taken care of afterwards. But, hopefully, like I say, the weather will hold up to that, and we're in good shape there. As far as recognitions, there has just been so much stuff going on this spring that it's almost impossible to recognize everything that's been going on. Even like when we get into the admin reports today, I'm not gonna read all that because it'll just take so much time. There's just so much going on. If you're at really any of the schools, there's been multiple field trips that have gone on. There's lots of sports activities that are going on. Kids have been doing a good job as far as getting things ready for the end of the school year. There's just a ton of stuff going on, and it's almost impossible, like I said, to pick out any one or even a few of those things. So, I think that we've had a really good year overall. We've got a couple days left. We're gonna finish strong, and then we gotta start working, obviously, working in the next year already. So lots of stuff happening. As far as any additional meetings coming up, we've got an agenda meeting coming up. But other than that, I don't think there's anything. We've had some negotiations meetings that have taken place. But, that all will continue.
All right. I would like to say something. I was at, Monday morning, we have a Memorial Day celebration down at Bay Point Park, and, the high school was ovation, and I believe, and I hope I'm right on this, it was a concert band. It's Mr. Perot and Mr. Vina, and the students did a fantastic job, both singing and playing their instruments. So I would like to give a hats off to them too. It was a beautiful setting on the river there in the next morning, so they did a fantastic job.
And I would like to also express gratitude to the staff and also the 42 local businesses, nonprofits, the city of Red Wing Public Schools, and Goodhue County government for taking interns in our Flight Paths program.
It was 62,
63.
62 seniors.
Yes, and it's really interesting because just to give you an example, kids really do use this to figure out, what do I want to be when I grow up? And there was one student who did Ryan Mechanical, Mayo Clinic,
Habitat for Humanity.
yes, Habitat for Humanity, and yes, Red Wing Shoe, because he's interested in medical, maybe engineering, maybe construction. And so he was able to experience something in all 4 of those areas. And so the kids really do, and the program really allows for exploration in the trades, in nonprofit work, in public health, or public, working in the public sector or the private sector. And we couldn't do it without people in the community. So thank you to all those people in the community that are mentoring the students. It's a really unique program.
I attended with Mr. Reister and Mr. Armstead, Mr. Josh at the Native American graduation a couple Wednesdays ago, I think it was. Very nice ceremony. There was quite a few of them on the stage there. Good time. I was not able to make the Hispanic one, but I wished I could have. I also was at Flight Path, which is a tremendous program through the schools, New England, and all the businesses that allow our students to come and learn about the inside and outside of their building and their business. And there was a number of businesses that we didn't have students for. So you said 63, there was probably more that we just couldn't find a student that would fit with that business. So very, very good. I was attended them today. I was a couple years ago, I'd attend them. They're much better presented now, just through experience. I'm not saying anything bad about the other ones.
Great.
I'm just saying they're
It's grown.
yeah, it's getting improving and all that. And
I'll just say we hear from about a school or something. I think Burnside is doing a tremendous job. I talked to people there that have kids there. I was there. They're a happy-go-lucky school. Everybody was polite the time I was there serving lunch. No matter who you were, they were polite. And same as Sunnyside, I did that too. Middle school, other than Mr. Bierman spending time in the pool, it's probably a pretty good place to be.
Sorry I broke it.
Yeah, so, but, no, they're all in the high school, everybody wants to talk about bad things. That's the easiest thing to talk about. But there's a tremendous amount, as you just heard now, tremendous amount of good things happening in all of our buildings. Caldwell, Sunnyside, Burnside, middle school, high school. So, I'm graduated from here many years ago. Very proud of this school, and there's a lot of tremendously good things happening in the buildings by many, many people that we can never, ever publicly say thank you and good job, but let the people out there know. It's easier to spread bad things than it is good. I'm spreading good, so spread it with me. Thank you.
Flight towns, there are sessions again tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow.
Second hour, fifth hour, sixth hour, and seventh.
So
So 9:32 and 12:53 is the first time in the
Little
afternoon.
theater.
Yeah,
So regarding
little
our flight
theater.
pass program, do we have any limitations preventing students from accessing this, or is it only open to a certain amount of students? What would
Emily,
make
can
this-
you best answer that?
Yes, I can. So it's typically for seniors. We're at 61, 62, as you said, seniors this year. We do at some point, we're getting close, we've never had this, reaching capacity, and that is strictly around the rules for this. There's so many site visits you have to do per student in internships. So we are getting pretty close. We haven't had to turn anybody away, okay? But could that be in the future? Yes, because there's a capacity of the supervision of the program.
So it's school supervision that we would need to increase if we wanted to expand.
We would have to increase the position because Nick has to go to each site so many minutes per person. And he's on site for Mayo every morning too, as part of it as well. So we haven't reached that, but we are approaching where we don't have like a finite number because at times, like you have a couple students all at the same site, right? That's not the same amount of site visits as you have, but
Well, it's a good problem to have, and we should probably plan for it.
This tip can talk about another part of it, not the flight path, but getting out into the businesses you shared with me today at the flight path presentation about independent studies. That people get out in the community too.
Yeah, there are additional students doing independent studies beyond, it may not have worked to be able to be in the flight path program per se, but there are other seniors doing independent studies where they're able to do work in areas that they want to study and work with community members and businesses outside of school hours.
I don't know, this is old, but we call it OJT on the job training. What's the new acronym for it?
They do that.
it's
Yeah,
still,
well,
it's
it's
still
still
that.
there.
Yes, we also have
Okay.
OJT. That's a different program. Yeah.
Yourself.
But there's another one. Oh, isn't there a?
Learn and earn? That's completely different, but yeah.
In the interest of time, I'm not gonna try to think of it. I would like to, one other thing, did everyone get, persuasive letters from students and this is Martin's class? Miss Martin, so yeah,
I'm a guy named Jack.
my two were, 4 days school week and, what was the other one? 4 days school week and shorter school days. Wow. I
You
think
have to have both of those.
yeah, not shorter school days, but ending earlier, so, yeah, I had to explain some of the finite details of that. But anyways, that was I wanted to give some recognition, they were very well written, and I thought that was pretty cool to have them, seventh graders do that, so.
The one I received made a strong case to not have e-learning days. I was really impressed with their,
They should, not, it
there
should
should
be
be e-learning days.
sledding days.
Basically,
Sometimes I can side with that myself. All right, let's move on to administrative reports, please.
So on the administrative reports, like I said before, there's 3.5 pages of administrative reports, and I don't think it's appropriate for me to read through all of those. There's just a lot of stuff going on. It doesn't matter which school you're in. When you hit May, it's just a sprint to the end is what it ends up being. There's so much stuff going on. So I just encourage you to take a few minutes and look that over at your own, when you have time, so. I think just one thing I wanted to did make notice there was, in the high school, students took 142 advanced placement exams and 16 at bilingual SEALS test this month. So I know Ms. Seafelt has been very, very busy.
Been a good busy, very good busy, but yeah.
Committee updates.
I have one from Community Ed. There's a few updates. One, the summer brochure is complete and has been distributed to students. It's also available in the library and the Community Ed office. Cobble Aquatic Center, used to be called Cobble Water Park. It's now the Aquatic Center. Opens on June 4th. It'll be open from 12 to 6 daily, and then they'll have aqua exercise, lap swimming, and swimming lessons in addition to that. Prairie Island Arena will be operating for 3 weeks again this summer, offering a variety of hockey programs for girls and boys. They will also have Learn to Skate through the Red Wing Figure Skating Club. There has been a subcommittee of the Community Education Advisory Council and staff that are gathering information on area facility rental costs and procedures, so that we can determine if there are adjustments that need to be made the way we do that. Those adjustments will take place July 1st. And then there's also been discussion about Head Start and the possibility of that being eliminated through the federal government. And what that would look like for us is we do get Head Start funding from local.
So does the community have a subcommittee, or is that a subcommittee?
There is a subcommittee through the advisory council, through the Community Ed Advisory. They've already been doing that work, so it sounds like they've completed it and the adjustments will be made July.
Any other?
Can I ask, what is the status of our finance committee? Are they meeting?
So recently we haven't been, I intend that we'll get that cranked up this summer here now. Try to end up with a more consistent go through on that.
I think they should be engaged in, we keep getting all the budget stuff, and I think they should be engaged with Lisa and you. Have some input to bring back to us. Sure.
Negotiations has also been meeting, as Russia said, with custodians, and we'll have more information later on the other two.
Let's move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Bjornstad, seconded by Ms. Tift. Is there any discussion on this? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Donations and grants.
So on the donations and grants, there are two that are there. The Kiwanis, I believe, is one. Yes, Kiwanis Club of Red Wing, $200 for the Kids Junction, and David Moore Mitchell, $100 for the student. Thank you for those donations.
I will make a motion to approve the resolution accepting donations and grants.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Tift, seconded by Mr. Bryant. Any discussion? All those in favor of
Roll call
approving? Oh. Yeah. Sorry.
No problem.
Mr. Bryant?
Aye.
Kayla?
Aye.
Jeremy?
Aye. Dries?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. All right. Superintendent comments.
So I was hoping I was gonna be able to spell out what the legislature's been doing, but that's not happening. Well, something's happening, but nobody really knows exactly what. So with that, one of the things that was mentioned earlier was Head Start. It looks like we're gonna be able to have Head Start for the upcoming year, but the following years when Head Start is at risk. So we'll see what that's gonna end up happening there. One thing, over at Twin Bluff, we've had to drain the pool because we've had some work that has to be done out there. Hopeful that we'll be able to get that thing up and running, but it's probably gonna be, could be through the month of June, depending upon how things go. There's some repairs that have to be addressed and taken care of. Some of the things have already been taken care of. They replaced the motor and the fan above the pool, they got that done. Some of that kind of stuff, but the pool is gonna be down for a period of time, and we have to have it, I guess, approved for reopening before we can do so. So the state will have to do that. I'm pleased that we were able to interview for the Director of Buildings and Grounds. That was on the consent agenda, so Kevin Newman will be meeting with us on June 23rd. He brings quite a bit of experience, so that's gonna be helpful. So, and then, the rest of the stuff is, like I say, we've just been busy getting ready for everything else, so. I don't know when the legislature's gonna be done, hopefully I'll have an update for you at the workshop.
Move on to business items.
So on the non-renewals, the first one there, so these are two separate contracts, but they can be approved in one motion. So with this, I recommend motion to approve the non-renewal of the contracts of Valerie Lee and Jason Mach, is that? Match. Both of them are on probationary contracts, and the primary reason that we're running into is licensure issues. So, in my recommendation that we, a motion to approve those two.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bryant, seconded by Ms. Schoenfelder. Yes. Mr. Bryant. Aye. Ms. Anderson.
Aye.
Mr. Koenig.
Aye.
Ms. Bjornstead.
Aye.
Ms. Marshall Schoenfelder.
Aye.
Ms. Stift.
Aye.
And I will also vote aye. Motion passes. MSHSL resolution.
So this is an annual resolution for membership of the Minnesota State High School League, pretty boilerplate. State High School League, obviously, they help us with all of our sporting activities, as well as a large number of fine arts programs, whether it's band, choir, arts, all those different kinds of things. So Mr. Hartman actually couldn't be here because he is out for the baseball game, the playoff baseball game that is going on right now. So my recommendation that we approve that resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bryant, seconded by Ms. Anderson. Yep. Mr. Bryant? Aye. Ms. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Rennie?
Aye.
Ms. Bjornstead?
Aye.
Ms. Schoenfelder?
Aye.
Ms. Stitt? And I as well for Mr. Rooster. Resolution passes. Contracts.
Okay, so on the contracts, you've got a separate piece of paper that should be with you. Just a single sheet, double-sided. So, looks like this is Brewster. Okay, so with this, we had all of this goes back to or July of last year. So these contracts these are all a year behind. So on these, they kind of followed the pattern that was set with that initial round of negotiations through last season. So because we're coming into now, we're already starting in negotiations with, again, the next negotiations round. So with this, this is just a summary of a number of the contracts that we've got here. So the first one is the principals. So on the principals, just some highlights here, update the dates with the language, allow for up to 5 vacation days to be carried over into the next fiscal year. The reason for that is there's frequently times where June is just a really tough time of the year. Maybe they end up with some days left over. Cost there is really, that's negligible. The district contribution for single health insurance, so on this, they have had a percentage baked into their contract as far as health insurance. Now we've got it in line with the rest of the groups that we have, so it's $800 for the single policy and then $2,000 for a family policy on a monthly basis. So that gets that in line with there. Juneteenth is a holiday. Juneteenth, basically stated the Minnesota School Board Association says Juneteenth should be treated along the same level as like the 4th of July. Basically, the system is shut down for the day. So as a result, they have an additional holiday there. The dollar increase, you can see what those are. And overall, the package is 3.7 in year 1 and 4.08 in year 2. Okay. So we can go through these in its entirety and then we can have some additional questions. So then the rest of these are terms and conditions, and these are for the program supervisors and directors, the non-classified, and the program assistants. So on here, change the dates on this. The health insurance, there was an increase on the health insurance from $675 to $700 and $750 in the second fiscal year. Then the district contribution for family stays at $1,650 for the first year, increases to $1,700 coming up here shortly. Again, adding Juneteenth as a holiday. This is for full-time year-round employees only. And then percentage increase in the salary schedule is 3.5%. So then the other one is the program assistance there. Health insurance contribution increases from $502.80 to $600. Again, adding Juneteenth as a holiday there. And the salary increase is 3.5%. So basically what we ended up doing was, again, following kind of the template that had been laid through negotiations through the year and applied that to each of these contracts. So these can be applied or these can be approved in one motion if you so choose. If you wish to break it out, you may do that as well.
I'll make a motion to approve contracts for all of this one group.
I'll second. Motion by Mr. Koenig, seconded by Mr. Bryant. Is there any discussion on this?
I just want to point out, because we have some new board members, that for the principal's contract, the last statement about the percentage increase refers to the overall package, so that includes salary and benefits as opposed to the other two groups. That percentage is relating just to salary, just so you know what that means.
Okay.
For your information.
No further discussion on that? Let's go ahead and vote. Mr. Bryant? Aye. Ms. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Koenig?
Aye.
Ms. Norris?
Aye.
Ms. Schoenfelder?
Aye.
Ms. Steph?
Aye.
I will also vote aye. Resolution passes. All right, Jefferson Building.
So Jefferson, you have the complete request for proposals there. So what I did with this is I went through, I worked with the lawyer at Kennedy Graven. We were able to use the template from the last sale of this piece of property, the last two sales actually. Change the dates, the times, the legal descriptions, everything there is as it should be. Probably the key pieces of this is once this, is approved, they'll advertise the appropriate amount of time. There's gonna be a time where if somebody wishes to come through and take a look at the building, and that is on 8 AM on June 18th. So if somebody wants to take a look at the property to see kind of what's there and what's not, then at 3 o'clock on July 24th, proposals are due. I had those due prior to the actual day of the board meeting in case something goes awry. So that's actually a Thursday. And then on the next board meeting in July at 5:30, that was when we would open those proposals. Now, one thing that was added on this was as far as the escrow or the earnest money, if the buyer causes the purchase to not be completed, that earnest money is non-refundable. So it's a 10% escrow that ends up being there. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get this taken care of, and we'll go from there. So my recommendation to start the process with this request for proposals.
I make a motion to sell it. Again.
Second.
That's a motion.
And I will second that. Jim? Do we have to vote on that?
We do it.
Yeah, all right. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
I with one tear rolling down my cheek, that's Jefferson, that's my home for a long time.
You've shed that tear a couple times.
I have.
K through 5 for me, I believe.
Yeah,
That was sixth grade, right? Never moved.
that was really in the olden days.
All right, 3-year policy review.
So on these, we have a number of policies, they do not have any changes. Those are 712 video surveillance on buses, 713, which is student activity accounting, 714, the fund balance, 720 vending machines, 799, which is the post-issuance compliance policy for tax exempt government bonds, 801, equal access facilities, and 805, waste reduction and recycling. My recommendation to approve those policies with no changes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Bjornstad, seconded by Ms. Anderson. Any discussion on this? All those in favor of approving the 3-year policy review? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Upcoming meetings. I have the next workshop will be June 9th at 5:30. And any topics that people like to be.
Are we going to have a board retreat this summer again? Because don't we usually in the summer sometime?
You have the last couple of years.
Yeah, and I wonder maybe if we could do something with board development, maybe?
I would think that probably, if we're going to have a board retreat, I would like to be able to brainstorm with the board on the future of what stuff potentially looks like as far as reorganizing some stuff with the district. Because there's a tremendous amount of work that has to go around that, and the better you are prepared for that, I think the better off they all will be.
That's something we could work on an agenda at a workshop and then plan a date. Does that work for everyone? So,
Yeah, because in July, we only have the one board meeting, so it's, we don't necessarily have to retreat at first, but
Right,
whichever date it ends up being, that's fine.
so we're open, we want to do that,
I'll look at dates.
okay.
all right. Any other topics? All right. Who wants to do the honors of a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'm just gonna send it down for like the motion to adjourn from now on.
Yeah. It's kind of his thing. I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Bryant, seconded by Ms. Bjornstad. Any discussion? All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks.